Cześć pokututa, please Takrenko. Jak Oscar.
I love you.
Taking an overdue look today at the latest Marvel Legends Rhino. This is from the Spider-Man Retro subline with packaging that is a throwback to the old 90s Toy Biz Spider-Man toy line that connected with the animated series. This line's been going for a few years now, and it's had its ups and downs, but mostly pretty good, especially when it comes to the villains. Some of the highlights for the villains have been Shocker, which was a completely new sculpt. I liked their Hammerhead. I liked the updated Mysterio, but it's also had some clunkers. The Green Goblin and Hobgoblin weren't great for me. There were some good aspects to them, but I ultimately skipped both. The line's a bit of a mix of re-releases and retoolings and completely new sculpts. And when it comes to Rhino here, he's mostly a re-release with some new things here and there. So this was originally released as a Build-A-Figure about 7 years ago, and it was a pretty decent wave with some misses. I actually never completed the Build-A-Figure. I couldn't find Superior Venom, and I didn't want to get a Misty Knight until I found that Superior Venom. So I do have pieces of the old Baff, and I'll bring them out to compare the paint job. But this is largely the same. The major difference is the new heads and new hands that come with this new Rhino here. So we'll take a look at the sculpt overall. I like the texturing on the hide. We have some bumps, as you would see on an actual Rhino. I like the lighter grey they use as compared to the Build-A-Figure. It's accurate to the cartoon and what I imagine Rhino looking like in my head. But I want to talk about the paint. It's splotchy. So to bring in a piece from the original Build-A-Figure, you can see there's a base darker plastic here with some green dry brushed over it. You can especially see on the joint here, further up you can see the plastic in which it's molded and then the green paint. And this has a pretty heavy dry brush throughout. It's mostly green with the crevices showing some of that dark gray. Now looking at the new one, it's mostly the lighter gray of the plastic with some splotches of darker paint, and it just doesn't look as good. It looks to me like they've just sprayed blotches, like circles of paint over it in seemingly random spots. It's a real shame because I do like the sculpt, and with either a dry brush or a paint wash, this would have looked a lot better. Another issue I have with this figure is just his shape. He's very blocky, very stout. He's built like a refrigerator. Whereas even if you look at the packaging, it shows the animated Rhino, he's got a big V-shaped torso and then a thinner waist. He's taller, whereas this, yeah, he's very square. He's a little too stout for what I want on a Rhino. Now looking more closely at the head sculpts, I quite like this. Very classic. The molded Rhino eyes on the side, real nice. Again, a very retro look for him. He does come with an alternate head here that is closed mouth. Other than that, it's pretty much the same as the other one. I do like these. The face stands out a little bit. It kind of looks like a plastic piece they just put in there. You can see there's a bit of spacing there between the face and the rest of the head. Still, I like these head sculpts, and I'd put them above the old ones with the excited face here and the masked face. I do like this older one, and this one's pretty special too. For the other interchangeable parts, he comes with 2 fists and then these 2 more open hands, and I like these. You can use them to like grip a Spider-Man head if you like, or something like that, maybe a neck. Pretty nice. No real complaints, and I can't really think of anything he's particularly missing. One thing I will mention, the older release came with these shoulder pads that you could remove. These are not compatible with the new one. The new one doesn't have these holes that the old one did, so you won't be able to use these on the new figure. Compatibility is something I was curious about in general. I'm pleased to report that you can interchange the heads and have the older heads on the newer body, like this. There will be obviously a difference in the color, but if that doesn't bug you, you can have the old excited head on the new Rhino. Looking at articulation now, Rhino has a joint in the bottom of the neck that lets him look down that much and up that much, which isn't great. He does have ab crunch that goes down, and I'd like him to look more up than this, because if you have him in a charging position, he's not going to be able to look straight up. His shoulders go all the way around and up, only about that much. He has bicep articulation that does go all the way around. Single jointed elbow that does have some pretty good range on it, not too bad. He's a bulkier figure. You'll often see kind of diminished range from these joints. The wrists have pretty decent range. That's pretty much all I'd want from a Rhino anyway. He has a swivel at the waist, ball hips which go out that far, forward about that far, single jointed knee that has maybe a little less than 90 degrees. The feet have a hinge, which is good. I do want some range on the feet, although they don't go very far forward, which I would want. And they have that great swivel. And pretty wide feet, which you want on a Rhino. People often put him in poses where he's standing on just the one foot in a charging pose, and he's great for that. He's weighty, and his feet are wide enough where he'll have no problem with that kind of thing. Alright, size comparison time. Here we have Rhino next to the classic Pizza Spider-Man. We have Shocker from this same retro wave, and the Mafex comic Spider-Man. And I'm good with the height here. I might like him a little taller, but I don't think he stands out as being too short, at least in my opinion.
I love you.
Overall, we have a pretty decent Rhino here. I think after all these years, the Build-A-Figure body stands up pretty well in terms of articulation and usability, but I do wish they'd given him a bit of a resculpt, changed up the body a bit. The disparity of how he looks on the packaging with that animated Rhino versus the figure really shows how weird this looks. Like many, I grew up watching the animated series. That's the Rhino look I'm used to. Not quite as stocky, huge, top-heavy, ripped dude. And maybe it wouldn't function as well as an action figure looking like that, but I prefer that look. With that said, this is, I think, the only Rhino on the market right now. Marvel selected one a few years ago, but I don't think they've re-released it in a good while. I know a lot of people prefer that one, and if it was available, I might have gotten that instead of this. The paint on this, I think, lets the figure down overall. The blotchy, darker paint just doesn't look good, whereas the paint on the original, I think, is pretty great. The kind of mossy green over the darker grey just has a great effect to me. Yes, I like the lighter grey on the new one, but it seemed really lazy, the paint detailing on this one, compared to the Build-A-Figure from, like I said, 7 years ago. If you don't have a Rhino, this will do, for sure. It's fine. The head sculpt looks good, he'll stand on your shelf, he'll look imposing, he'll be bigger than the rest. But if you want to spring for one of the older Toy Biz Rhinos, or if you find the Select out there for a decent price, you might want to go with that instead. Now, this will be my shelf Rhino, but I'll be looking out for others or future releases. I'm still pretty happy with the line overall. That Shocker is great. We have the Lizard coming up, and I've gotten a notification that that's going to be on its way to me pretty soon, and I'm pretty hyped for that. So let me know what you think. Do you have this new Rhino? Do you have the Build-A-Figure? Maybe the Select? Were you happy with this one, or kind of on the fence like me? Sound off in the comments, and maybe give me a subscribe if you're liking the reviews. So, thanks for watching.